it's a hiccup.
Yeah, it'd be
Why
like a
was it
glitch or
like,
something, but it was never like this bad ever, you know?
yeah, like it might
Yeah.
be a moment or two where it's just delayed showing that we're online, but that'd be it.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know, whatever. It works now. I don't know what happened. We talked to technical support. Where did Tony go? Oh, there
I'm
Tony,
here.
you like disappeared, and now you're back.
Oh, I think I talked to the same technical support as you because then eventually she was like, "I'm talking to your host," and I was like, "Oh, okay," and then we stopped talking.
Yeah, yeah. It was the same girl. She like asked if Tony was one of my guests. I'm like, yes. Oh, I guess we're live now. We're officially live.
Tony. Take us away.
What's up, guys? This is Tony, coming from BatYard's finest, with an exciting new episode after a long break.
Yes. A long
I don't even remember last.
I'm
when
also
we did
Jerry.
Our last episode. I'm
you got
John.
busy. It's getting close to the summer.
Oh yeah,
it is. It's well, I don't know how the weather is for you, Jerry, but I'm basically living in like a tropical rainforest. You know,
Yeah.
it's been like
it's so up and down.
Really?
Like it was 48 degrees this morning, and then it jumped to 80. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like I was this close to cutting my heat back on. I'm like, no, because next week is gonna be back to 80 degrees again.
Yeah.
And I'm not dealing with this crazy weather. Maybe it's cold, maybe it's hot.
Yeah, we're getting flip-flop too. I mean, right now we're getting like flooding alerts and all that. I don't know how.
Oh my god,
Tony, is it bad for you?
No, not really. I mean, it today. I don't know. I didn't look at the weather, but I would say it was like 50. But it's been 80. Like it not in the same day, but like it's been hot. I don't know. It's not the worst. We have cold winters, so anything that's not that is fine by me, honestly.
Yeah, I could not survive a New York winter. That just sounds awful.
It's kind of, I don't know. It depends on what you do. You got to keep yourself active to make it worth it, you know?
Yeah.
All that snow, just hearing how much snow you guys get always blows my mind. You're like, yeah, we got 1.5 feet of snow. What? How are you alive? You should not be on this earth.
How is it where you are with like snow alerts and like clearing?
So for us, like we get snow occasionally, but for us it's more of the ice and freezing rain.
Yeah.
Because where I live, we live in a basin and it's just full of hills. So it's like one slick spot and then boom, you're off the road in a ditch and nobody's gonna find you for a couple of days.
Oh, man. Oh fuck.
And then when we do get the snow, the ice is under it, so it's like you can't really go out and enjoy it even when you want to. So it's a love-hate relationship. The last set of snow we had was actually fluffy, which was very surprising because we all were like, oh, this is going to be that hard snow that we always get. That's the first time around. It's winter weather down here is very peculiar.
Yeah. No, I mean we get a mix and match. We definitely get our ice and we definitely get like actual snow. So it I don't know.
The craziest is like early April or late March when you think it's over, and then you'll get one more snowstorm, or when like it's not even like snowing or anything. This happened in April. You go outside, like I work from home, and I went somewhere after work, and my windshield was frozen because there was freezing rain. So it just just frozen over. I'm like, man, it's April. Can we be done with this already?
I couldn't deal with that.
Yeah. I had a race in April, and there was a snowstorm like in the beginning of the race. So like while we were running, it was just like getting pelted in the face with snowflakes. And then it started to rain. It was crazy. It was a wild race. There was a lot going on. There's a lot of different textures. I don't know.
Guys, for winter for us, it always starts off with rain. Like no matter what, rain is the very first thing, and it only just rains. Hearing snow like that is so foreign to me. Like I could never I couldn't deal with that. That's too much for me.
Oh, we got a comment from Les from Australia. Welcome to the show.
Hello from the U.S.
Yeah.
But Tony,
All right,
if you
Tony.
want
What?
we have
Yeah. What are we
breakdown.
doing?
What are we talking about, Tony?
So we're gonna start with BSBS. That's our section of the show where we just talk about current Batman, Superman, any comics, any DC shows or movies, or honestly anything. It doesn't have to
Just
be
any
DC or
pop
Marvel.
culture.
I saw Sinners 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I saw Sinners too.
It was. I wish it would have released in October because that's just a fun horror movie. It's not even a horror movie. It's just Tony. Is it not just full of thrills?
It was. It was really crazy. I liked it a lot. Yeah.
It was a simple plot. It wasn't anything over the top, and it was honestly, it was like I was watching an old horror movie again. It was just a good time for the sake of a good time.
I like the slow burn too because
yes,
dude, I heard it was a vampire movie. Oh, I don't know if I should be spoiling that, but I heard it was a horror movie of a certain type, and I was like, after like a bit, I was like, really? I was like, what? How does this get there? And then it does, and you're like, okay, like this is. I liked the build.
Oh man, Tony, when they asked the guy, "Are you in this organization?" and he was so offended, the whole movie theater was just laughing when I went to see it.
I don't know if I remember that part. I don't know why.
Oh God, I'm trying to say without spoiling it. It was the guy on the run from the posse, and he ended up at that shack.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Remember when they had asked him if he was a part of the organization, and he was extremely offended by that?
Yeah,
that was one of my favorite parts in the movie.
There is some really good moments. I think the music scenes were pretty crazy. Like that was just out of nowhere.
Like, that was such an out of body experience to just witness. Because how did you watch it, Tony? Did you see it in IMAX or standard?
I think it was standard. I also I saw something about how there was a lot of perspective changes in IMAX where the change of aspect ratio a lot, and I saw Ryan Coogler actually like made a whole video just explaining it, which is really cool that he's just there's I didn't watch the video, but there's like I've seen like screenshots where he's just like has a chalkboard and he's like this part we filmed this way, this part we filmed that way. So I'm sure IMAX was nuts.
But you know what I really think was so crazy about Sinners? From start to finish, the movie told it's not even it told anything. It just showed what it was like back in the day when you really didn't have anything to your name.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly.
Like it was, and it wasn't even a main focus. It was just a focal point in the background. And it's like, oh, this is, just how it was. That's why things are kind of going to happen the way that they do. And I'm thinking back on it. I was like, you know what? I'm glad that they didn't focus anything on that. Like, yes, they made it known that this was how it was during this time period. But outside of that, it was just about what the movie was about. And I don't want to say it in case Josh goes see it.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the movie. I haven't really heard much about this, to be honest.
I would recommend it. If you were just looking for like a thrill movie with a little bit of scares to it, like this was it was a good movie.
There's a lot of social commentary too that I liked, and it's not like it's not like super on the nose. It's like there,
it's just there.
And I felt like it. Like if you read it a certain way, I felt like it related a lot to this movie that I picked, which I thought was super interesting. It was good timing because one of the main people was Irish, and I think there was a reason that he was with some of the things that he said later in the movie. so I don't know. I thought it was pretty interesting. The movie being Gangs of New York. So
yes, that was interesting. If you were looking for a recommendation, I would go see Sinners again, and I'll probably buy that on Blu-ray when it releases.
That's cool. Okay, that's a pretty big recommendation then if you're gonna own it.
Yeah, it was like even if the main actor was changed, I don't think it would change the dynamic of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they just used a different actor, excuse me. Like I'd give this movie like an easy 9 on the way to a 10. Like it's a good slow burn, and it's just a very fun movie to just go watch for like 2 hours and some change on a Saturday night.
That's cool. Okay. Is it streaming now or is it still in theaters?
It's still in theaters.
I think it's still in theaters. They might be getting ready to pull it after this week.
I gotcha.
It's making a lot though. They might try to keep it out there.
Oh, Michael B. Jordan. Okay.
Yeah, he plays 2 characters, which is really crazy.
He did a great job with that.
All right. All right. So speaking of movie theaters and movies that we've seen in theaters, the last thing I saw in theaters was the new Looney Tunes movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up.
Oh my god!
I forgot to go see that, and I was like, "Oh, they're having a new Looney Tunes movie."
It was great. It was honestly really funny. I do highly recommend it. Like, it has really good reviews, and I just like with the ratings, the number ratings and everything. And I do agree. Like, it was a really fun time. It was really funny. I was laughing out loud, like in the movie theater. I dragged my girlfriend to go with me. It was fun. It was a good movie. I wanted to support that kind of movie, like 2D animated full motion picture again. You know, it was like the only thing in recent years that was coming in theaters that's like prominently 2D animated for a feature film. And I was like, okay, I got to support this in any way I can, you know, because I want to see more of this. It doesn't have to be Looney Tunes. It could be any 2D story, and I just want to see that, you know. And it was great. It was definitely worth it.
I couldn't even tell you what the last 2D movie was. Because the last cartoon movie that I saw was whatever the last Tom and Jerry movie was. Oh, and it was good. I liked it.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, that was a theater movie.
Yeah, that was a theater movie.
It was like the half animated, half real life thing, right?
Yeah, that one.
It was 2D?
No, not 2D, but like the last cartoon movie that I had seen.
I see.
It was like they were animated, but they were in a real world, right?
Yeah, because it was like they still had their animation quality, but it's like they were in like New York, right, Tony?
If I never watched it. I just remember seeing some of the media around it.
Stills, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about now. The last 2D animated movie, like feature film, I could think of is The Princess and the Frog, like that Disney movie.
Oh yeah,
and that was like 2000,
that was like 2010.
I think it was like 6 or 7. I don't know. I gotta look that up.
Hold on.
Some of the Pixar ones are. I don't even know if they're in theaters anymore because they started putting them on Disney Plus.
2000. Damn, that was 2009.
Yeah, you're closer. I thought it was earlier.
I thought it was later. I thought it was kind of closer to like 2011 than like 2009.
Yeah, that was a good movie. I like that movie.
That was a good movie.
Yeah, I want them to do that.
I'm trying to think. Any other BS I have?
I have one small one. Oblivion Remastered is out. They shadow dropped it, and it's amazing.
Yes, everybody's been playing it.
It's great.
Tony, you like flash in and out sometimes.
Really?
Yeah. Jared, do you see that, or is that just me?
I see that happen, but just for you.
Oh, for me
Josh.
flashing?
Oh, yeah. No, that happened. Yeah.
That's
maybe
weird.
It's an internet thing.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. Maybe. I'll have to look at the live stream
instead of you sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I see. It looks fine on the live stream. Okay, never mind.
Tony, speaking of games, did you also see that we're getting Gears of War in August from Microsoft?
I saw a headline. I didn't really.
That's legit. Like Sony posted about it and Gears of War posted about it. I was like, so the rumor is holding up. Because I had heard a while ago that Microsoft's getting away from being, having a gaming side, and they're just going to focus on being a developer. Yeah. And so they said they were going to put up their catalog for everybody else to use. And I'm like, that was always the big dream back in the day. Like,
yeah,
no more console exclusives. Like, everybody's got, just about everything. Because Gears of War was one of the first titles I remember kind of playing on Xbox. That and Halo.
Yeah. I think, is it like a new Gears or is it like a
I think they're just remastering the first one. And, PlayStation now has access to that IP. So
that's kind of crazy.
I think in the future,
wasn't that just Xbox exclusive, right?
It was,
but they're stepping away from gaming. Well, they're shifting their view. If I remember what they said right, like they're not gonna focus on producing hardware. They're gonna help just develop games.
I think
be kind of a big studio like that, which is the smart move, really, because if you're helping produce more games, you can help increase the quality of the games and not so much the quantity.
I agree. I don't really understand why they bought Bethesda then, if they're just going to release it on all the games on PlayStation. I thought it was like I thought
that was a weird move because it's not like Bethesda has a great track record with fantastic games either.
Yeah, I thought that they were doing that just to like hide the games from PlayStation and be like, oh, you have to buy an Xbox. But now they're just abandoning that idea. I don't know.
Yeah, because Microsoft's, their big thing is, their software and their PCs and stuff. So what's the first thing everyone does on a PC? Download Steam.
That's true.
And then and then they still have the Game Pass, which gives you access to everything else that they swap in and out.
Yeah, I think that might be where they're trying to get their money back now with just that, because I always forget that I pay for it, and then I'll be like, oh, I'm going to cancel it, and then a game I actually want to play comes out. So
it's just, I don't think that's a bad idea for them, because with a catalog that big, eventually it would just make sense to move to that kind of service.
Yeah, I think so.
I had something else.
I have two things.
Josh, please go ahead. I'm trying to look this up now.
So, speaking of video games, there was a new GTA trailer that dropped today. I only saw half of it. It just seemed like story elements. It didn't really seem like gameplay.
I'm excited.
Oh, yeah, I did hear about that. And also, it got pushed back to next year.
Yeah.
Oh, it was supposed to come out this year? I didn't even realize it was supposed to
come out. It was supposed to come out the fall.
Oh, man.
But they know the expectations for GTA 6 is so high that they need that extra time. And I'm glad that they did.
I think so, too.
Because if GTA 6 releases at launch and is bad, I will never touch that game ever again.
Yeah.
Like, we've had GTA 5 since, the PlayStation 3?
No, it's nuts.
Like, it's time.
Yeah, it has been. 360, PlayStation 3. Yeah, it is kind of crazy.
God.
If you look at the timeline of games that they produced over the years, it's really funny because it's like GTA 3, GTA San Andreas, GTA Vice City, all within a year, and then it starts being 3 years gaps, and now we're at the point where it's 8-year gaps between games. It's exponentially. Every game that comes out takes exponentially longer.
Give me short games again.
Yeah.
I don't need you to wait 3 years to give me some movie studio budget for a game. I don't care.
Yeah.
I just want to go beat people up and steal money.
Yeah.
And not go to jail legally.
Just all the physics that they're putting into this game, it looks like it's going to be kind of crazy. Even more so than Red Dead Redemption 2, which was their last video game that they made.
Yeah.
So, and that game's really realistic. So
it's extremely hyper realistic. That still blows me away.
So I can only imagine what they're gonna do with this.
I hope they put in aliens.
I'm sure they do. There's a UFO in every GTA, and there's a UFO in Red Dead Redemption. So I would be surprised if there wasn't anything, So my last BSBS, I don't know if you guys have anything else.
I have one more thing, but it's small and it can wait.
Okay. Well, this is kind of old news, but I'm pretty interested in this aspect. Colossal Biosciences has released the what the hell is it
Oh,
called?
the dire wolf.
Yeah, the dire wolf. I almost said timber wolf.
Oh,
Like that's
yeah.
not it. Yeah, the dire wolf. They
I forgot
claim
about
that
that.
they resurrected the dire wolf from extinction, and I wanted to hear your thoughts about this whole process.
I'm going to say something both profound and problematic. There's a reason the things that no longer live are living. If we start bringing back, I'm not saying, like bring back a saber-toothed tiger or bring back a woolly mammoth elephant, because there's no way the ecosystem now could sustain something that big or that eats that much. But, I think that it's a point like, oh, we can bring back I forget what it is. It's that African dog with that giant mouth that was hunted to extinction. What was it?
Are you talking about the Tasmanian tiger?
That's it. Yeah, the Tasmanian tiger.
Yeah, that's Tasmania. But yes.
Yeah, like if we could bring, things back that we've hunted to endangerment or completely to extinction, I think that's fine. Like there is a certain threshold just from where we are as an ecosystem we have to look at. Because if a dire wolf comes back and it has, the true reproductive capabilities of an old dire wolf, eventually, through just continuous generations, eventually the dire wolf is going to come back into the wild. And those things are huge. So all of this, like the perfect balance where there's enough prey for enough hunters, it's going to just shift dramatically, and then the ecosystem is going to start to fail.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're like gonna release the dire wolf. I think it's just like proof of concept, like, oh, we could bring back this extinct animal. And I know they're using basically this to bring in the media, because they're using the same genetic information to bring back another species of red wolf that's going extinct in North America. But like that wouldn't be as engaging as like bringing back a dire wolf. So I think that's why they like went that route, just to get the media attention. But they're really using this this science to bring back, like you said, animals that are currently kind of downgrading towards extinction, or animals that we previously wiped out. Like there's so many animals just in colonizing America alone that will like went extinct, let alone the time humans were kind of like becoming civilized and all that. So it's just there's a lot of history to go through that.
There's a lot of hunting that went on.
Yeah. Tony, what are your thoughts? You're a scientist.
I had read. I haven't really read much on it, but I had heard people saying, like, kind of trying to fight back and say that they're not actually dire wolves.
Yes, I've seen that.
Like,
I wanted to bring
I have also seen that.
So I don't even know what to think about it.
Wait, go ahead.
No, I was like, I'm curious to see what they actually did, and like what it is. If it just looks like a dire wolf.
Yeah, I looked a little more into it, and they like looked at like direwolf sequences, but they took like a timber wolf, a gray wolf, and just basically genetically modified it to kind of resemble more a direwolf. But there's no like actual direwolf DNA in the timber wolf. And I remember hearing, like, even before they did this, because I'm pretty interested in like ancient life and all that.
Yeah.
But prior to this, I heard that their most closest living relative is a jackal. It's not even a wolf, So that's where I'm kind of confused. I'm like, so what exactly is this thing? Is it even a dire wolf, or is it just a wolf that's mutated that kind of resemble a dire wolf?
Yeah, it's Jurassic Park all over again.
Yeah, that's what this is. And I thought this would be an interesting discussion, so that's why I wanted to bring it up. And I'm all like fascinated by this stuff too, so I could talk about this for a while.
Like I do hold an interest in this because it's always been in the realm of science fiction. Like, oh, we have the technology, we can finally go back and fix insert catastrophic event. So I do think this does hold implications. Like I said before about bringing back extremely endangered animals, or as we both said, animals that have been hunted to extinction. And I think that's the only place it needs to stay.
Yeah.
We don't need to get into making chimera animals like, well, what if we, give a dolphin 800% more muscle mass so it can swim faster? That's a horrible idea.
Well, then it also brings up the question, like, when are we going to genetically modify humans? It's like, that's like around the corner too.
Yeah, because I've heard a little bit of people doing that, who have genetic conditions that are hereditary. They'll go through gene therapy to try to make sure those problems don't pass down when they have kids. But I'd heard about it a long time ago, but I'd heard like if you're a super rich person, you can go see a genealogist and be like, I want my kid to have red hair and green eyes. Make this happen for me.
Oh, I've heard that.
Yeah, that is
like I've heard things along that line, but never like a full-on modification like this dire wolf scenario.
Yeah, Stalin tried to breed humans and chimps and create a race of like super soldiers that had like the strength of a chimp, but
and the smarts of a human. I've heard so many crazy stories of his. I'm like, this dude wasn't there all the way because you just
he can't be.
You can't believe that in your heart of hearts. That's how biology works.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's like actually historically, like he has done that. I haven't like dove too deep into it, but I know he has attempted that.
Like I've looked a little bit into it when I first heard about it. Like if you think it's true, it's probably true.
Yeah. He
was a very sick individual to cut that conversation short.
Right. Right. Tony, what are your thoughts?
On Stalin or on
just this whole thing?
Oh, yeah, I guess my question would be if the plan is to make a direwolf, what the intention is. Because it's not like we're gonna be able to like bring a fleet of unextinct them. Is that the idea? Is to unextinct them? And then what Jerry said, like, yeah, we shouldn't be playing God in that way. Yeah. Unless there's like a legitimate research reason, then I don't know.
I agree with like animals that we like made into extinction in like recent years, like in the 1800s and like
yeah,
like basically the start of westernization when like people were taking over like other parts of the planet basically and like wiping out like forests and animals and all just a lot of different things were going on and like a lot of animals were wiped out because of that.
That's true.
Like I could name like the passenger pigeon, the thylacine, which is the Tasmanian tiger, the ivory-billed woodpecker. Like there's so many things. Like the dugong, which is like a giant manatee that we killed.
Killed that thing dead.
The California fucking flag is a grizzly bear. No grizzly bears in California, but that's their flag. We fucking eradicated them.
That's true.
It's just like all this crazy stuff. But at the same time, if you want to have a civilization, you don't want these like super predators like in your fucking backyard. So what is the line? Like
where do we put them when we make them?
Right.
Jurassic Park.
So
also for just my last quick thing, there's a new Toxic Avenger coming out with Peter Dinklage.
I saw that.
I think
that's awesome.
I thought it was a joke because I heard about it a long time ago, but I just finally saw like an official trailer for it, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
Oh man, I have to look this up right now. I'm sorry, I'm curious.
Like,
I just want to see
it. Weird. Like, if you've ever seen the original Toxic Avenger, this is just weird. Like, it's not even weird, like, interested. It's just like, why are you doing this? Nobody's thought about this franchise in God knows how long.
It's a trailer. Oh my gosh, this looks amazing.
Elijah Wood, Kevin Bacon. That's a crazy cast.
I need to see this now.
That's a crazy
and
cast.
Peter Dinklage is the Toxic Avenger.
That's crazy.
That's kind of amazing. This already looks great.
I love it.
I have to see this.
I have one little BSBS, and it's not really BSBS. It's just a recommendation. Watch The Rehearsal on HBO.
That was just advertised to me, like as you said that, Tony.
It's
like I saw that little recommendation for that earlier, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
It's unbelievable. It's if you've ever watched the show Nathan For You, it's that guy.
Oh, but yeah. Okay.
Different level. It's crazy.
Is this new?
The season 1 came out like a year or two ago. Season 2 is airing right now.
I think I've seen season 1. I think he like replaces a family or something weird.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, that was season 1, I think, where he was like, he made like a fake family and like.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
With the crazy lady.
Yeah, I definitely. Okay. I didn't realize he was making more. I definitely got to watch this.
It's something. It's something.
Okay. All right, for sure.
So I think that might be all of our BSBS.
Yeah,
so I think
we just spent the majority of the podcast on BSBS.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to fly by all the topics.
Yeah.
So for the first feature, the short, this was, I think it was episode 2 of a multi-part. I wouldn't call it what would you call it? It's a docu-series.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Of the history of New York. Not by Ken Burns. Ken Burns is like makes famous documentaries on PBS, but I believe it's his brother or cousin. Let me look this up. Rick Burns. So I picked a little snippet out of that kind of related to our feature presentation of Gangs of New York. And I want to hand that over to Jerry because apparently Josh watched the whole episode.
Yeah.
So he might talk about things we have no idea what we're saying.
Yeah, I got to like the 1940s mafia. I was like, okay, this is like way too far, you know.
So in this docuseries, it was talking about the Irish presence in Italian New York and how they were not viewed or received very positively. And at that time, I couldn't even tell you the time period, but the Irish were viewed as the same class as you know, African Americans and Black people. Nobody really wanted them around, and they just used both sides to, you know, fight race wars against each other, because the Irish would take jobs that essentially paid nothing, and then the businessmen would say like, okay, we're not going to pay you, and then they'd go use all the African Americans as scab workers, and just a big snowball effect of pitting two people against each other, you know, forcing two sides who hate each other to live in the same ghettos. And then just also how corrupt it was as far as bringing certain people over to make trouble for everybody else, and how they really didn't view them as more than third-class citizens, and giving them, just basic accommodations, pay, wage, food, even just clothing and what they could afford to call their own. Josh, I know I'm missing a lot of nails on the head because this has been a while. I'm asking for a tag in.
I mean, I probably couldn't say really that much better myself. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of immigrants coming into the New York port at this time, and this was 1800s. This was no earlier.
The movie painted this to be like right when the Civil War was happening, so I don't remember the year of the Civil War. It was like 1840s, 1860s.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're in the right timeline. Yeah, and they were basically like all these people were just like shoved in these tenants like so close proximity to each other, and like people were speaking different languages, and at the same time people like didn't really understand where the other person was coming from. So uh it's just like a bunch of different like clashes of like different ideologies and different like people who are coming all over the world, basically settling in this dense city. And it's just the first time all these cultures were kind of just like thrown into this mixing pot. And it was like, all right, let's see how this works. So it was almost like New York City was like a social experiment or something. You know what happens if you put all these cultures from all over the world and just like throw them in this like close proximity, and it kind of of course, like there was disagreements and wars like within each other's, like clans and factions, like fighting against each other. So it's a long struggle in history throughout the city. What is happening?
I don't know. But yeah, it was this docuseries. It was just very, because I've always heard how Irish were viewed during, a certain time when they were coming to New York. But actually just hearing it, and I think I watched maybe till the 25 minutes of it. So I was like, okay, I know I'm getting away, but I'm a little bit interested.
Yeah.
So I was just listening, and I was like,
Yeah.
man, if you have money and a little bit of power, you can do anything and people won't stop you, and they'll just jump on board because of how easy it is.
That's I kind of.
And then
Oh, sorry.
You can just step on the small person. You can just step on the small man. Once you have that kind of money. But what were you saying?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just saying. Yeah, I started watching it, and then they started talking about Walt Whitman, and I think I went too far when they started talking about Walt Whitman. But yeah, no, this was really interesting to me because they talk about a lot of the themes of the movie, and I was trying really hard to find like a short about this that wasn't just like generic gang fighting, because I wanted something more historical, and ChatGPT actually came in with the assist on this one. With the exact
believe in fair use of AI.
Yeah, fair use of AI. But yeah, no, I thought it was really interesting because there's like an excerpt in this thing where I forget, I don't know who was talking, who was being quoted, but he was someone that was Americanized, because at that time the Irish weren't considered Americans. They were just still like immigrants that were living in the area. He was mentioning that like I think the road collapsed or some building collapsed or something, and then there were Irish women hunkered over the bodies weeping and like showing emotion, and he used like some language to describe like their exact what exactly they were doing, like wiping like the blood away from the people who died's face. And his only thing was like, how different are the Irish than us? Like he's like these people are strange people. They have different mannerisms, different like outlook on life. And it just seemed interesting because I don't know if his point was to say that American culture was cold and would ignore the people in the streets that were dying and was just surprised at the culture shock.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was super interesting because he was just describing what I would expect is basic human decency, and was like, oh, it's like a normal American wouldn't do anything like that. And I thought it was strange.
Wasn't that Charles Dickens like explaining that too? Wasn't that his writings? Like I remember them saying like Charles Dickens visited the city, and then like that was like his description was like something like that.
It might have been. I think they probably used Dickens writing throughout the whole episode, and they didn't really set it up as Dickens in that moment. That's good to know that's the context of that.
Yeah, I remember them stating that, or like something, at least in one of the parts. It could have, like he was explaining, like human decency was non-existent.
Yeah.
which is and New York. Honestly, I watch this and I watch Gangs of New York, and I'm like, oh man, New York always sucked. Like, I'm not really
Jesus Christ.
I don't like New York City that much. I mean, like, there's a lot of culture and a lot of history, and like, there's definitely interesting stuff there. But like, it's just it's too busy for me. I'm too country for New York City. So I think that's what it is.
I just was not expecting that.
I don't get me wrong, I like to visit the city, but once I go there, I'm like, I need detox for like a very long time. Like I went there in February. I'm like, I don't need to go here for a very long time, like a year at least. Like I could wait a whole year, and like I don't need to go there. I can't imagine living there. It sounds like a nightmare. It sounds awful.
Because it's like New York, how other New Yorkers describe the city, it's like you only go once if you have to do something there. Outside of that, don't go. It just like everything about the city is just, it's like you said, it is very busy.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like New York. I like the history of it. I like
you just don't like the city.
I'm just not a city guy. You know, I like how movies are made there, like King Kong, Ghostbusters, great. Some of the greatest movies ever have been made there. But Seinfeld, you know, a lot of culture.
It's pretty iconic, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it's just I like to visit once every year or so, maybe once even more, and I'm good. Exactly.
As we say in the South. This docuseries was very eye-opening, especially because I know of New York and I know certain, major events that happen in New York.
Right.
But actually hearing about a very prevalent issue in New York like that, it's not so much just eye-opening. It's just, I guess ignorance is just the only word to describe it, because, you can't know what you don't know.
Right.
And I just never knew how bad it really was. Because, when I hear about New York, I hear people always talk about, the Bronx, Hell's Kitchen, and, all the 5 boroughs and so on and so forth. But, hearing about a big issue that was just going on in the city that nobody really gave 2 shits about fixing, it was just like, wow, I guess some places really aren't so different. And there's good and bad everywhere, as they say. But some places are just a little bit more bad than others. Not to say that, New York doesn't have a bunch of great stuff about it either. It's just, everybody everywhere has its trouble. And I would give this docuseries a 7. I would like to watch more of it. I probably will watch more of it. But yeah, just for the context of Gangs of New York, it was a really good docuseries to kind of explain how we got there.
Yeah, I would agree. I would probably give it an 8. Yeah, it's like very informative, and there's more to watch. It led me to want to, watch more, dig into it more. So,
there we go. Yeah, I actually quite enjoy New York and the history of New York. Like, I don't hate going there. And I kind of I picked this movie and the other the feature in this because not to keep talking about my trip, but I went to Ireland and I was very interested in like the Irish like the whole issues with the English and the Irish and like the famine and like the Irish people being like, we have to get out of here. And I didn't find like a lot of content on that side of it, but Gangs in New York is kind of the American next step where they have to go somewhere. They come to New York. So I don't know. I'm very interested in that history and the history of New York in general. So I'll probably watch the rest of it. So I give this an 8 thus far.
Yeah, the potato famine, that was really crazy. Because when you start looking into that, you look into the Guinness family, and it's very interesting how the destruction of one crop essentially changed the whole country.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
That is very fair. What was it? Was like a mold or something, or what was it like that?
I think it was some kind of fungus. I have only looked into it a little bit because I was listening to a podcast talking about the Guinness family and the potato famine that come up, and I think it was like this. It was a disease, but I can't remember if it was like fungal or it was just something along those lines.
When I took a tour on like the Irish Rebellion against the English, and they mentioned it, and the guy described it as, I mean, obviously this is just from probably like things that he was told by people who told that person, but you would stick your hand in the ground and try to take a potato, and it was just black mush. Like it would just fall apart in your hand. Like you couldn't get it out of the ground. And then, that's their main crop. And then whatever was there, the English would take and bring home. So they were kind of starving.
Yeah, it's
like bug life.
It's very interesting.
So on to our feature presentation, unless we all gave reviews, right?
Yeah, I think we all did our thing.
Okay. For the feature of Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York, I'm gonna give this one over to Josh.
Oh man, this is a lot of shoes to fill. Okay, so Gangs of New York, 2002 film, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, Leo DiCaprio, and Cameron Diaz. So basically, it takes place in the mid 1860s, and it's the point of the movie is like it's the 5 points of New York, which doesn't exist anymore, and they basically all converge into one section, and they like all cross, and each street basically represents a different ideology or like a different people who are living there. There's Irish, there's Native Americans, which we'll get into that. Also, there's I'm sure there's Italians, there's African Americans, there's a bunch of different classes and races, and they all kind of get mixed into this pot. And like these gangs, these factions grow their own gangs. There's the Dead Rabbits, there's the Bowery Boys, there's a few others, but the two most important ones for the context of this movie is the Dead Rabbits and the Bowery Boys. Bowery Boys represent the Native Americans, and the Dead Rabbits represent the Irish immigrants who came over to New York. And there's a high priest played by Liam Neeson, and Daniel Day-Lewis plays the leader of the Bowery Boys. They have their faction, their fights right in the beginning of the movie. It's an all-out war. There's bloodshed all over the place, and we find young Leo DiCaprio is the son of Liam Neeson's character of the high priest. He dies. Leo DiCaprio basically disappears for about 10 years, and then eventually he becomes the butcher's like sidekick or like underling. He goes under his wing. So the butcher who killed his father, basically becomes his own father figure in another way a little years later. So basically he's trying to infiltrate his gang and try to figure out how to murder this man who killed his father in a previous gang war. And a lot of bloodshed, a lot of politics are involved, and all chaos ensues.
There definitely was a lot of chaos because I forget Liam Neeson can never live in any type of film he's in.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was looking, I'm like, is Liam Neeson gonna die again? I think I said that when I realized who he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes through some.
I mean, even just excluding that, this was a very it was a charged movie.
Yeah.
Like you open up, it's a big war. You continue down the road, you're in New York, you're seeing words being thrown around very casually, being to describe people of opposite races. You even see a little bit of prostitution. You see like every facet of just negativity kind of associated with America, trying to be protected from people that they deem animals. And I'm just like, man, this is a very aggressive movie because everything about this is just like, it was. I enjoyed the movie. It was, very well made. It was a great fun movie, but I was pissed the fuck off watching this because I guess because I've been on that side of being called words like that it just, like, on the inside, it just really hits that button. And it's nothing against Leonardo's character because he had to do what he had to do to also survive. But it's like, after a certain point, you're kind of being a hypocrite.
Exactly. Yeah.
But like, this was a great movie, and I'm glad that you did pick this, Tony. I enjoyed it. But man, if I was around anyone, they would have thought I was wrong because I was just seething the whole time. And even how, with how Leonardo's character talked to what was the girl's name? Cameron Diaz. He was like, "All right, I'm done with you. Move, bitch." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was at the moment where he thought she was like having relations with the butcher, right?
The butcher.
Which, being young and rebellious, I understand that perspective of it, but yeah, he is stupid. I don't know. This might be controversial. I thought Leonardo was like one of the weaker aspects of this movie. I thought Daniel Day-Lewis was amazing, and then Leonardo DiCaprio, like, he grew on me over time. But every time I see him in a movie, I just see Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, I never see the character that he's playing. I just see Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, I think
I can see that. Because this type of film, I was like, all I can just see is Leo.
Right.
I know he's trying to do his best acting, but he just has that presence.
I think we needed an authentic Irish actor for that role, and I would have been so much more sold on that part. Not saying he did a bad job, and he is,
but it would have just fit the narrative more.
Yes, I definitely that's how it would have felt a little bit more authentic. I even thought Cameron Diaz was like really great. Like, I was like,
she did great. Yeah. Like, she played the part of the like the innocent woman the whole time, but it was like she's just as scummy as everybody else. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Nobody's innocent.
That was like her
truly
charade.
Yeah.
Jenny Everdeen.
That was her name, Jenny.
Yeah. I think Leo definitely, especially in scenes with him and Daniel Day-Lewis, he definitely like the two of them
he
together.
Definitely fell short in terms of the acting part.
Yeah.
I
was like, Daniel Day-Lewis, like, you love to hate him, but like you kind of understood everything about his character. And like with Leo, you're like, yeah, his dad died. I understand that, but like I couldn't really get the inner turmoil, like what was going on in his
because I had that same thought process. I'm like, okay, if you hate this dude so much, I understand why you're working for him. You want to, expose his vulnerabilities and weakness. Why are you waiting so long to do it? Especially back then, it wasn't a hard thing to do to kind of talk to the right people because people know who your dad was. So you can get the muscle together basically overnight.
Yeah, and then finally when he retaliates, he like throws a knife like in the middle of like one of his speeches, or like there's a whole crowd of people that are for the butcher, and like he like throws a knife at him. And like it's like, what are you doing? You're an idiot. You're fucking stupid. Yeah. You spent all this time following this guy and trying to infiltrate his information, and then you just like show yourself like in front of everybody.
Especially
You're stupid.
What if we're supposed to believe that he had all that restraint like over all of those months of doing work for him. Why in that moment was he so angry?
Right.
Like how you would think he had more time to like compose himself and pick the right time.
Exactly.
Especially the 10 years he did locked up. Like 10 years to sit on rage is a very long time to just practice your composure and cold and harden your emotions so that when you finally get there, you can just let it all go.
Yeah.
And it was literally just like going to the axe throwing range. Oh, wah, wah.
Yeah, it was.
Like that's literally what I thought.
I like that John C. Reilly was in this movie. That was one I forgot.
I didn't know he was in here, and I was like, "Is that John C. Reilly?"
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was really good in this too.
Yeah.
Like he was perfect for that role. That's what I mean. Like, you would think like that would take me out of the picture too, but like he was so authentic. He was great. That was like I was totally sold.
Yeah, and it who was it? The guy who played the kid that's helped Leonardo's character get away. Even the Irish actor they got for him, I'm like, okay, he's a little bit nervous. He's in love with Jenny. He's kind of squirrely, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But he did that part like to a perfect T. Because when the house was burning down, what was he doing? Help! But he's holding on to this, like little gift he wants to give to Jenny because he wants some action. And when she shoots him down, he's like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to keep going because I don't have any other options. So I know I'm going to get a turn eventually. I feel like certain casting choices could have been redone to improve the impact of certain key scenes. If that makes sense.
I think it's just Leo. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say it, but thanks, Josh.
This is the beginning of Martin Scorsese just loving Leo and putting him in like every movie for some weird reason.
Right.
God.
I mean, he was really good in Wolf of Wall Street. I will say that.
Yeah, I think that's
you can't take that away from him.
You definitely sold it for that. And like The Revenant, I haven't watched that yet, but I heard that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I watched that a lot. I think when it came out a long time ago, because that's what finally got him his Oscar, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Personally, my favorite Leo film is Catch Me If You Can.
That's a great one.
That's a good one.
I watched that in of course it was like senior week in high school, so we were doing nothing but just skipping class and watching movies. But I was like, oh, this is a good movie because he looks and acts just like the type of person you think would be in that situation.
Right. Exactly. I definitely agree with that.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tony.
I was gonna say, who else is in this movie? It's funny that I'll watch movies and now I'll see him randomly and I'll be like, oh shit, it's that guy. Have you ever watched The Wire?
I just got recommended The Wire the other day by my boss, coincidentally.
One of the main like guys in The Wire is in this movie. I forget his name. Really? I know I don't know the actor's name because I've only seen him in 3 things, and it's The Wire, this, and that Adam Sandler movie about football.
Waterboy.
I think it was Waterboy. But I was like, oh my god, that's Avon Barksdale because that's the guy's name in The Wire, and I was like, that's so funny. There's so many just random people in this movie. But I think
movie did really have kind of an overall little star-studded cast. Yeah. Because, I mean, Leo's a big name regardless of what he's doing. And then you also had John Day-Lewis. You had John C. Reilly, Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, Elliot from E.T. He was the fucking... What? Elliot from E.T. is the friend who like rats him out.
Oh, the asshole.
Yeah. Well, what's his name? Henry Thomas. Yeah.
I didn't even pay attention to him. I hated him.
Elliot was a dick.
This was a really cool movie. The only time I really see anything New York based in like media is if it's something you guys recommend, or if it's something I just happen to watch and I'm like, oh, this was shot in New York because I recognize the film style because, that's one of the things about New York. It has its own unique style of being filmed.
It does.
and not that it's a bad thing. It's like it's part of the charm.
Yeah, it's like its own character. The city, it's its own character.
Yeah,
within the movie.
Yeah, and I think what interests me about this movie is I think it really goes and shows like how messed up New York was at the time, and how like New York is imperfect now, but like like how far it's come to some extent.
Yeah,
and how it's like when we talk about the Civil War, it's like obviously like there's terrible things going on in the South, but the North like still had struggles to try to figure out
too.
never really talk about how there was a lot of racism that had to be figured out in the North as well.
Right? Yeah. That's like glanced over, and I feel like that should be like delved more deeply too.
Because how it was always portrayed to me, it's like obviously I'm black, so the thing we've always heard is escaped slaves went up north to Chicago, New York, Virginia, not Virginia, Massachusetts, and some went California over to where the Native Americans were, and I think Mexico still owned California at the time. I don't think we had got it from them just yet.
Yeah, that would we didn't have it. Actually, no. The Louisiana Purchase. The Louisiana Purchase was like 1700s. So I think we did. I think we did.
I'll look it up later. My history brain's not turned on right now, but it just really seeing how the North had, like you said, its own deal of racism it was trying to figure out. I'm like, obviously being from the South, I know more of the atrocities that have happened down here, but it was almost to a point I'm like, man, I don't know if it'd be safer for me to just stay where I am because I know how to move, about people, as opposed to going up north where I'm in unknown water. I could very easily end up on the wrong side of a hi, how are you doing? And it was just really, really interesting to see how it was other races just as well receiving this same kind of treatment. Because, obviously it's been talked about, the most with African Americans. It's talked about a lot with, Asians. But, just seeing how everybody got the same, not the same, I don't want to just generalize it, but everyone received a piece of that stigmatism, and they made sure that it was well known that you weren't wanted and you were not liked.
Yeah. What was crazy to me too is just like we're talking, as Josh said, the Native Americans, like the nativists are having riots and being like, oh,
stupid.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
I just wanted
the craziest racism possible. Just saying the craziest things, and it's like colonies from like less than 100 years ago just saying crazy things like that is like insane to me.
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah, I just wanted to state, Jerry, that you are correct. Mexico did own California until 1850. Sorry.
Okay.
1850.
I thought it was a little like around that time because that was when that when we had got it, but I couldn't remember how far off.
And the Louisiana Purchase was only to like the middle of the country, basically, like a little bit west, but not like that far west. And that was like 1700s. But like I remember Lewis and Clark went all the way to California. So that's why I was like, oh, did we own it then? Because
because that's what I was getting confused on.
Yeah,
because I was like, I know they started from like Ohio and went all the way over, and then came back. So I was like, because in their journals, they talked about obviously the indigenous people and then the Mexicans that they had met, and then a few of the Frenchmen who had still stayed around.
Yeah, it looks
like. I thought it was.
No, they started even further west. Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, they were like on the East Coast. But anyway, sorry.
Sorry, my mom just texted me. I got to answer this.
That's okay. So go ahead, Tony.
Oh, I just had a random point that I don't understand the significance of, but New York was a Dutch colony, and the main character's name was Amsterdam.
Yeah,
so
I thought
that was
too.
kind of funny.
Right.
Yeah.
And originally New York was called New Amsterdam as a Dutch colony, right? Or was it just Amsterdam?
It must have been New Amsterdam, yeah, I think.
Yeah. And then once the Dutch sold the land basically to the English, that's when the name changed over to New York.
Yeah. Maybe my interpretation of that is like, I don't know, like this might be stupid, but the last shot of the movie where they're like doing the burial and then it fades into the skyscraper it's trying to be like, this is our history, and like the documentary kind of pointed it out too, where they were like, yeah, this is the future of America, where like there's going to be a ton of immigration and a ton of people that need to learn to coexist.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that moment fading to the skyscraper is like, this is where we came from. This is like the things that happened that like took forever to this is where we came from. This is where we are now. This is the same place.
Yeah. And it showed
like him being named Amsterdam is like maybe his father's attempt to be like you're gonna, like, I don't know, like be American. I don't know.
Well, that wasn't even his real name. That was like his cover-up name was Amsterdam, and I forget what his like actual name was.
I couldn't tell you. I think they might have said it 3 or 4 times.
I'm pretty sure, because I remember when like Henry Thomas tells Daniel Day-Lewis, like his friend tells Daniel Day-Lewis, his name's not Amsterdam, it's something else. And
that makes sense.
I forget.
So was it? Yeah. If it was a cover name, then it's more so. Yeah. Them picking like something that's. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and talking about the skyscraper, like at the end, like it shows the Twin Towers, and by the time they showed this movie, they weren't even there anymore. And I know like Martin Scorsese had some pushback to even like leave those in the film, and he basically claimed it's not like up to him like what the skyline's going to be in the future. Like that's kind of like what it was at a point, which I do understand. I think it would have been more of like a slam against it, like to not show them in there, like I don't know. I think it was fine.
Yeah, I think there's a reason you want to keep it in there. Like
you don't want to like erase history either.
Yeah. Also, Tony, my brother is asking about the documentary that you had recommended for us.
Yeah, it's I got the guy's first name. It's not Ken. Ken Burns' brother had this multi-part documentary on the history of New York, and we picked an excerpt from this era talking about immigration in the 5 points, kind of the area that's the theme of the movie, and the gang warfare in that area. From what we saw, it seemed to be a good documentary. That was the other thing too I thought was interesting, watching the movie first and then the documentary, is I wonder how much of the movie is fact, because I think the main villain is based on Tammany Hall, who was mentioned in that. Who was mentioned in that to be his whole thing, or no, was it? He was Tammany Hall, but the other guy was purposely just trying to exploit the immigrants to get their votes and make them feel like they were being listened to.
Make them feel important.
Yeah, and just grab everyone that he could's votes. And then they also mentioned, like, historically, that there was like an actual march towards a church and violent protests towards a church. Not protests, it was like fights at a church, and then they showed that in the movie. So I'm wondering if that was supposed to portray the same instance.
Yeah,
where like there was like fights between like the Bowery Boys and the Dead Rabbits in the streets.
I looked a little bit into it. I guess like there was a fight that was between those two gangs that did happen. That was like pretty big, but like the violence that they showed in the movie was a little bit more exaggerated.
that makes sense.
than what it was in history. But like there was like moments like that did happen. And then I don't know the moment that kind of threw me off too was like the P.T. Barnum like elephant that came out of nowhere. I'm like, why is that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that was weird. I forgot
It
about
was like
that.
that was the only CGI effect in the whole movie. And the 5 points, they actually made that set and they made it as historically accurate as they could have with like the pictures and the references that they had. And I heard it was like really as close as it could be to like the actual 5 points. It doesn't exist anymore. They built something on top of it now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. But I'm gonna go ahead into my final thoughts and review. As someone from the South, who like I've heard about how the North was during the times of the Civil War and how they dealt with all the immigrants and racism. It's definitely not as charmed as I'm not gonna say as we were taught in school, but just as how I perceived it to be.
Right.
Because it's like, was it easier in certain respects? Yes. But I don't know if I would call it an overall better situation. Because just with how far down the corruption ran for a lot of different things, I just don't know. Well, obviously, I'm thinking now, back then, if that was the only choice, I would have had to have taken it, clearly. But I just don't know what if I could have made that safe call to just uproot everything, go to this strange place and just try to make it work, or I stay here where I know everything and I have a chance of dying because of the environment. And really seeing how they view this movie showed how, all the other minorities there were viewed and treated. It definitely, showed that everywhere was not the safest, not so much the safest, but the best option. Some places were better, obviously depending on how you looked and who you associated with, and so on and so forth. Because even with how Butcher treated some of his own people, like it was obvious he cared only because you do good work for me and I don't have to worry about you ever getting out of line. And that was really something that I didn't expect to really resonate with. But once again, things during that time, it was, if I don't swear fealty and loyalty to you, then I'm just an empty mouth not being fed. At least with you, I know I've got, a little bit of booze, a couple of ladies of the bed warmers of the evening, and then I'm gonna at least have some food and money so I can take care of me and my own. And just seeing how hard everyone fought to just be on equal footing, I was not prepared for in just an eye-opening way. Because obviously this was a very long time ago, so things now are much different, somewhat. But definitely seeing just how raw and uncut some of this was, especially toward the Irish immigrants, because through history you hear like, oh, there was a point in time where being Irish was worse than being any other minority in America, and seeing how they were treated, ostracized, persecuted, and obviously the amount of hate toward one another who was doing better than you, it was really insightful on how things are in other parts of the U.S. at various times. I would definitely give this a very solid 9. Like the length, how long the movie was, definitely took away from some of my enjoyment. But I would still watch it again, but just in parts this time. Next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I probably there's just like a few nitpicky things I have. But I do like the movie overall. It's a really good movie. I like the character Jimmy Spoils. He was like the African American character was like in it, and like his moment, like every time he was in the picture, it like he really shined, but then he wasn't in it enough for me, and I wanted to see more of that perspective of like the African American perspective on what was going on. Like he was only representative of like that kind of culture and like what was going on behind the scenes with that, and you know, I just wanted to see a little bit more of that and like the more integration with the African Americans and like the Irish groups kind of like intertwining, because I know they like they kind of did like intertwine a little bit more than like other groups, and I kind of wish they showed that a little bit more. I mean, they kind of did with that character, but I don't know. I was a little bit more interested if they show that a little bit more. Yeah, Leo DiCaprio, he's a good actor, but like I think, yeah, if they had an authentic Irish actor, I think I would have sold it a little bit more. Daniel Day-Lewis was amazing. Like the way he used that knife and tapped his eye, I think that he had like a glass cap or something. He had some like contact lens or something that he put in his eye, and he like trained himself to be able to touch his eye with the knife. And like that's how like crazy method actor he is, you know. And like before that, I think he like claimed he retired from acting and he was a shoemaker for a while, like 10 years, for like a long time. And it took so much to like entice him to make this movie. I think he had like met Leo, and it was like a whole thing with Martin Scorsese. And like this was like one of the last movies of this time where like they made like the full out sets like that, you know. Like nowadays it would be mostly CGI for the 5 points, but like Martin Scorsese basically made that whole set, which is pretty amazing. I would give this movie. Oh, the other thing I want to bring up, the Native American thing. You know, obviously that's like the context of how the Bowery Boys felt in that time period, but obviously it's like really stupid to kind of think that way, because like the actual Native Americans of the Americas were like treated as second-class citizens, and then they claim that these people like claim they're Native Americans, which I guess you know, all of us here are Native Americans. We're all born in America, but you know, the claim, it's just like a silly thought, you know, and that's how that's what they put all their like oranges in the basket per se. You know, like, oh, this is what the hill we're gonna die on. We're Native Americans. Like, okay, that's cool. That makes no sense, but okay. But that's how the people thought back then. So it's no gripe on, you know, the movie. It's just silly. It's just a silly ideology. I would give this movie probably an 8. I'm closer to a 9 than a 7 for sure. I gotta watch it again to really give it a solid, like, firm rating, but yeah, 8 for now.
8 for effort.
Yeah.
I think I'll do it. Yeah, I think Daniel Day-Lewis, is definitely.
He's the selling point of the movie.
Yeah,
I only watched that movie for him. I don't feel bad saying it.
He's crazy. Like his monologues, like he just gets into the character. Like you don't see him, you see the character, and it's crazy. He does such a good job. It's like his monologues are like haunting. If you've seen another great movie I recommend, it's a more boring and slower movie than this, but the moments with Daniel Day-Lewis make it worth it. And Paul Dano, There Will Be Blood is amazing for the same reason.
Yeah, that's a great
movie.
That movie.
It's about oil
baron.
Oil baron. Really good. Just crazy haunting moments of just monologues by Daniel Day-Lewis. It's really good. But he makes the movie just crazy to see that time period. I feel like it's just not really. I mean, it's taught, but like just to see like how bad it got, like the poverty and just groups living together in poverty, and like the hatred for each other, and then the hatred for people coming in was just crazy to see. Like I think they did a really good job portraying that, and I definitely give this like an 8 or a 9. I think the acting was top notch by just about everyone. I don't think Leo did a bad job, but it's just like when you're next to someone like that gets into the roles like that, it's hard.
I wouldn't say he did a bad job either. I just think it could have been better.
Yeah. What else can I even say about this movie? It was a little long. I'll say that.
It's just a little long.
Oh,
it wasn't like bad.
This is actually my main criticism of the movie, and it's kind of a stupid, silly one. Because I love Scorsese movies. This might be one of my least favorite Scorsese movies because they're all great. But my only criticism, it's really stupid and nitpicky, and it's even stupider because the other movie's a remake of a different movie. But this movie seems a lot like The Departed in some ways. So when I watched this, I couldn't not think of The Departed, and it's directed by the same guy, and it has Leo. The only reason I say it's like The Departed is because the whole point of The Departed is like being behind enemy lines and like pretending to be like someone's underling and just to like stab them in the back. That's like that whole movie, but it's in modern day Boston. That's a great movie too, but
I actually haven't seen that, so like I didn't have that comparison.
It's a great movie. I recommend it. That's another star-studded cast.
Yeah.
But it's very similar to this, and it's directed by the same guy, and it also has Leo. So I was like, okay, I feel like I'm watching the same movie because I've watched The Departed a ton. But yeah, I'd probably give this about an 8.
Okay.
Well, Jerry, I also have my picks.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So it's going to be another documentary, but I think it's going to be a good tie-in. So for the documentary, we're going to be watching the history of the Bell Witch from Adams, Tennessee. It's a 44-minute documentary on YouTube, I think. It's very, very interesting. It's one of the big, Tennessee lores we have. And then for the movie, we're going to be watching the Blair Witch Project.
Oh, hell
yeah. Okay.
Because I've been sitting on the Blair Witch for a very long time, and I'm like, we have the Bell Witch here. And it's going to be a very nice little tie-in because they're both paranormal, and you get to see a little bit more of Tennessee history.
That's cool. I never actually seen this movie, so this would be great.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right.
I love that movie.
If you don't want to be spoiled for the Blair Witch and history of the Bell Witch, please make sure to watch that before next episode. Which you have time. It'll probably be a month from now. So
plenty of time.
Yeah, you got plenty of time, folks. All right, Tony, you want to close this out?
This has been BatYard's finest, soaring up and away.
This is Jerry guiding you all with Green Lantern's light.
And this is Josh, becoming super friends one episode at a time.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.